This is Issues Paninyaya, a Chengeto Zimbabwe initiative supported by I Am Swedish Development Partner. Issues Paninyaya seeks to challenge the status quo on various social issues.
Zimbabwe, and welcome back to another episode of Issues Paninyaya. My name is Rejoice Naraunda Makawa. As the show progresses, please let us have your feedback. We are on 0773910095 on WhatsApp, at Issues Paninyaya on Twitter, on our Facebook page, Issues Paninyaya. A few weeks ago, we had Wlsa in studio, and they were talking to us about the Hwange company issue, where women had been on strike for several weeks with regards to some labor disputes that were ongoing. On the 19th of March 2018, Leonard Ncube from Victoria Falls reported that President Mnangagwa had made a statement on the labor dispute between Hwange company and its workers, and the president was proposing that whole discussion should be resolved through dialogue. We are in studio tonight to have a dialogue with some hope that we will have a way forward or an idea of what has been happening in Hwange since then. We've got in studio Honorable Temba Mliswa, who is MP for Norton, but he's here in his capacity from the parliamentary portfolio position. Good evening, Honorable Temba. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you? And a very good evening to the listeners.
We've also got in studio Dorcas Makaza Kanyimo from Wlsa. Good evening, Dorcas, and welcome to Issues Paninyaya.
Thank you very much, Rejoice. Good evening to you all.
We've got Mr. Peter Gift Mutasa from the Zctu, but he wears two hats because he's also from Zimbabwe. Good evening, Mr. Mutasa, and welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me.
Honorable, just to come to you and maybe to give us a background on your position, on your parliamentary position with regards to the discussion at hand, so that our listeners understand the portfolio that you chair and what its mandate is.
I chair the Portfolio Committee on Mines and Energy, which really has oversight on government institutions at every level, the aspect of mining sector and the energy sector affecting the country, to get people to understand in layman's terms that we have oversight over the ministers and all the civil servants relating to mines and energy, in terms of the policies that they have, in terms of implementation as well, that are the policies being implemented, is their production in the sector from a mining point of view. From an energy point of view, is what the government has said it will do being done. From a fiscus point of view, should we lobby for more money for mines to get an energy? And when they get that money, are they using the money according to what they would have asked for? This is where we vote in Parliament in terms of where the monies should go. So those monies are also subject to scrutiny, to oversight by the relevant committee. There are many committees: environment, which also looks into environment, education, higher and tertiary, defense and security. But we are stuck on mines and energy, and I think Hwange falls into that category from a production point of view.
Fantastic. So we are not misplaced. Dorcas, would you like to just give the listeners an understanding of your role as Wlsa in this whole discussion?
Thank you, Rejoice. As Women in Law in Southern Africa, we're a women's rights-based organization, and our mandate is to promote the rights of women and girls, and also to ensure that there is no discrimination against women in any form. So when we look at the Hwange situation as Women in Law, we are saying these are women who are on the ground living in Hwange, and they've decided to demonstrate against the human rights abuses that are taking place, being caused by the Hwange colliery mine. So the women are what we are supporting. We're in solidarity with the women as Women in Law to ensure that their rights are protected and to ensure that what they desire to push for comes out.
Fantastic. Mr. Mutasa, what is the role of Zctu in Zimbabwe?
As Zctu, I'll mainly speak on behalf of Zctu.
Okay.
And the main role of Zctu is to promote and advance and also protect the rights and interests of workers in Zimbabwe. And in our function of protecting and promoting the rights and interests of workers and defending their rights, we don't focus only on the worker, but we also focus on the worker and their families, the workers and in the communities that they live in. And we also protect the vulnerable groups in society, mainly targeting at the women, youth, orphans, and widows, and those who have no economic activities that they are doing. So we look at the worker holistically, looking at their families and the communities. So in this matter, it's a matter that is affecting workers at the workplace, but it is also affecting the families, their wives, their children, and it's also a matter that is affecting the whole of Hwange community. And this is why we have moved in to assist the community, the worker, and the families.
But maybe just to paint a picture from where we left off the last time we had this discussion, Dorcas, do you want to just give listeners an update of when this started, why it started, and where we're at now?
The issue of the women demonstrating started really in a very peculiar way, where we had 2 women in Hwange who decided to visit a friend of theirs in Hwange. And when they arrived at her home, they found her lying on the floor, really helpless. And they asked her, what is happening? And she said she's hungry. For the past days they haven't eaten and she has no idea how they are going to get food on the table. And the women started discussing around the issue of sources of income. And the major source of income was coming from the husbands who were working at the colliery mine. And all these women realized that no, our husbands haven't been paid. And no matter how hard we are trying to find other means to find a source of income, it is not enough. We now need to do something about this. So the 3 women decided to mobilize other women, and they ended up at the gates of Hwange Colliery Mine holding a demonstration day. And since the 29th of January this year, they have been there in that tent demonstrating, demanding that the mine gives their husbands a lump sum money for them to be able to start surviving, and also then pay up what they owe to the husbands. And from that point, we have been following what the women have been doing, and we have been down to Hwange, and we realized that it's more than just the issue of money. How this has affected women is to a very great extent, where it has even affected their social lives. Women were saying things like they cannot even afford sanitary wear, and because of that they are compromising a lot in terms of their sexual reproductive health and rights. The mine is no longer able to provide medical aid as they used to all the workers and the dependents of the workers as well. So their health as well is at stake. And the women also alluded to issues to do with the environment, where they are saying that we're having our water polluted, and it all comes back to the mining activities that are happening in Hwange, where fish are dying in the Deka River. So we noticed that there are a lot of socioeconomic problems that have arisen due to the non-payment of salaries to the workers, and women are mainly bearing that brunt.
Have you, as the portfolio responsible for that particular sector, been to Hwange and been on the ground and gotten an understanding of what is happening in Hwange?
We went to Hwange, we were on the ground as a result of our responsibilities in looking at the activities on mines. We went to Zctu, went to the Gwanda Solar Project, we went to Kamati, we went to Hwange as well. And when we went to Hwange, it was on the aspect of oversight on how Hwange was performing, and from a production point of view, the challenges that they were facing. And we then came across this situation of the women protesting, demonstrating, and I think that demonstration was, we took it upon ourselves to hear them. We are legislators. We represent the National House of Assembly, so wherever we are, we can represent anyone. So I think where there is a concern, we address it, we hear it, and find ways of addressing from a representation point of view. I've always said that members of parliament are like police officers. You could be off duty, but you are in your home area in Shurugwe. If a crime is committed, do you just walk away from it? No, you don't. You've got to attend to it, and that's who we are from a representation point of view. So I want people to understand that we're not looking for it, but where there is an issue that requires us to hear, we hear, and then we represent accordingly and effectively too. So we met them. They told us what the challenges were, and yes, quite sad that some of them were resorting to prostitution for them to get money and so forth. So it was quite uncomfortable to hear some of this, disturbing, quite concerning. So we told them to hand something to us in black and white, which they did, and we even invited the management to be there, because as members of parliament we also equally want the management to be there, because they were accusing the management of not taking care of their husbands from a revenue point of view, where this is their income and they're not getting money. And yes, mushamkads. So at the end of the day, when they feel that they are not being paid their dues through the work that their husbands are doing, then they take it upon themselves, which is not really surprising, because mushamkads. So I think the husband can only give excuses to a certain point that we have not been paid. They'll probably think the money is going somewhere else, and yet the family is suffering. So we then presented that in Parliament. As soon as we got back, we presented that in Parliament, and it was well received. The Minister of Mines was not present on the day. The Leader of Government Business, Honorable Ziyambi, received that. But I equally say to him, it's an answer, but it's important that the head of state is consulted about this, is informed about this, because I think it requires him to be involved. Because what they'd asked for was genuinely what belongs to their husbands, and there's production happening at Hwange. The management is being paid. There are people who've made money from Hwange, so why are they not being paid, which is quite reasonable. So an inquiry is needed from His Excellency's point of view to come up with the way forward. It was not that the Minister of Mines came through. We also raised the issue up, and I still emphasize that it was important for him to talk to the President about this, because he's the CEO, and I think the President will then come up with a way forward. I'm glad that they met the President, and the President said it must be resolved, and in resolving, understand it's simple, that they must be paid their dues. So if they've been paid their dues or not, because I think being the President, he has certain powers which are invested in him to ensure that money is availed, whether through the Reserve Bank, through a loan, but I think he has those powers to do that. So I think that's really where we are in terms of our representation. I think we've done a good job of it. They've also noted that, and the Member of Parliament, Honorable Chuma, again came through to also discuss that, representing the people, to just augment and buttress the issues that we'd received from them. From a mines committee, yes, I'm then told that Labour, the Minister of Labour, went there to look at the issue and so forth. There's been accusation of corruption at Hwange. Okay, that's what has made Hwange not pay the workers. So to me,
so there's a misappropriation. Are we
that's
saying?
Something. There's got to be a commission of inquiry from the time even the former Minister of Mines was there, Obert Mpofu, the former CEO was there. Because it's been a culmination of bad governance and corruption, which has led to this. So you cannot then rush to labor issues before you identify the source of the problem. The source of the problem is they have not been paid because of the corruption which has been happening. The new management equally gets involved from a legacy point of view, but there's got to be a separation of understanding what has caused the problem.
We've talked about dysfunctionality, and as we begin to wind down, we never ever have enough time. I think that's something that we need to pick up on. Before I come to you, Dorcas, I just want to hear from Mr. Mtasa, because generally we've had a non-performing economy. Are workers being paid at Hwange as we speak, number one? And number two, what is the quantum of owings at Hwange?
Right. I think the first thing is the root cause, and Honorable Mliswa is very correct. The root cause is corruption. At some point before 2013, there was a different management, different minister, and Hwange was paying its salaries to its workers. Then came a new minister, new board, and new management. Everything went down. So from 2013, there was a Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, which went there to investigate in 2015. It produced a report, and the summation of that report is simple. There is corruption at Hwange, and things are breaking down. And like Honorable Mliswa said, you can't put the whole blame to someone who is at State House in Harare for issues that are happening in Hwange. Yes, there was impunity, but the people responsible are there. The money that they made from Hwange is known. People have bought trucks, people have bought buildings, people have bought farms. There's serious need for a commission of inquiry to unearth this, and people must be prosecuted. So if we are talking about the new dispensation, we now need to see more action than talk. Then the issue about how much workers are owed. Workers have been owed since 2013, and currently they are owed in excess of 74 million. And this is not money that should just be spoken about. What workers work for, they work to buy food, they work to buy clothes for their family, they work to buy to pay school fees. So this 74 million should be looked at it as school fees that has not been paid to kids for kids, and it should be looked at as dropouts that have emanated from that. It should be looked at a number of deaths that have occurred because someone has failed to pay hospital fees for their family members. It should also be looked at the amount of social disturbance that has happened in families, the marriage breakdowns that have happened, the number of pregnancies that have happened to adolescents and to teenager daughters of those people who are working in Hwange. So it is a national disaster that any minister, any government must quickly deal with. And if we are in new dispensation, we need to see a responsive government that respond to issues. These women have been there for 62 days now, and the government has not done anything yet.
Participate on Issues Paninyaya on our WhatsApp platform 0773 910 095, at Issues Paninyaya Twitter handle, at Rejoice Nara Twitter handle. Visit our Facebook page, Issues Paninyaya. Issues Paninyaya, challenging the status quo.